Rathalos is beginning to swoop in. Found in many locations of Monster Hunter World, Azure Rathalos is a much tougher, angrier, bigger, and far more savage beast than any other gaming monster in recent times. Let's say he can be quite a handful. Seriously guys, it took us days to put him down, but don't you fret. After hours of gaming and figuring out ways to beat this one, we've come up with some pretty neat tricks to cope with this flying monster's aggression. In today's video, we take you through what its weaknesses are, some tips and tricks to exploit those weaknesses, and most importantly, how to kill it. Let's dive in. First up, Azure's weaknesses. Let's start off by talking about Azure's physiology report and his weak points that you're gonna have to remember if you intend to beat this monster solo. We know that his head, wings, chest, and tail are the weakest points on his body, so you need to focus on those areas and try to inflict the most damage there. We also found that he's the weakest in the head compared to the other areas, so definitely try to aim for that as much as possible. Now coming to the elements. His weakest element is water, and for his ailments, it's a three-way tie between sleep, paralysis, and stun. So you can use one of those options to maximize the amount of damage you do. But how are you going to get to Azure? Use flash pods. Firstly, we all know that Azure Rathalos likes to keep to the skies for the most part, so expect a lot of aerial attacks. His favorite trick is combining different attacks, and that's what makes beating this monster all the more thrilling. And since they're so quick and have an element of surprise to them, these attacks keep getting harder to dodge. When Azure becomes enraged, it attacks with much more intensity, and that is when he's at his worst. Unlike the previous versions, this one's overly aggressive, which can be quite overwhelming for a lot of players initially. But there's a pretty simple trick that you can use to bring him down though. What you can do is use flash pods to give yourself additional chances to attack. Keep your flash pods ready so that you can blind it in midair once an attack is done. This will cause it to fall to the ground, allowing for free hits and a brief cooling period. But remember, these flash pods can only be used 4 times, so you're gonna have to be extremely cautious and tactful while using your inventory and time on the flying monster. Next, Ancient Forest. Also, if you ever travel to the Rathian nest in the Ancient Forest, you can do a neat little trick with the flash pods. If it gets too close to the wall on one side while berserking, you can flash pod it to make it crash into it, forcing the water within to send the Azure Rathalos hurling off the cliff edge. Next, you can jump down to find it prone, allowing you to strike it a couple more times. There's no reason to think this wouldn't work on conventional Rathalos or Rathian, but given how much time the Azure variety spends in the air, it's a highly successful tactic for taking it down. Next, attack during Dragon Breath. Here's another little secret we found while playing the game. The Azure Rathalos is most vulnerable during its fire breath attacks. Yep, it may look absolutely vicious and impossible to beat, but that's when you have the most chances of inflicting major damage to its HP, since he's exposed to strikes. Whenever Azure breathes a small cone of fire, it'll almost always follow it up with a fireball. Now hear us out. The idea is to start running sideways to dodge the fireball first, and then unleash your weapons when it's done with the attack. That's when it's the most vulnerable, and this is when you might want to use your flash pods as well. Don't bother doing anything while it breathes fire apart from dodging. Seriously, your weapons, no matter how hardcore, are going to be of no use. Until it's done and takes a brief pause, that's when you strike. Also, remember to step far, far away from him as soon as he's done dishing out the fire attack, because he will most definitely try to claw you if you stay around him or keep standing. The fireball attack is always followed by a swoop that can poison you thanks to its talents, so you're going to have to dodge before the Azure gets too close to avoid the poison damage. Next, dodge the tail. His next move is the tail swipe, which will also inflict poison if it hits you, so you're going to have to keep an eye out for that one too. You'll know when he's prepping the move because he appears to be looking at his tail from behind right before the attack. Simply dodging in and away from him works just fine, or you could also do a sprint jump. Anything really, as long as it's not getting you poisoned, and use every weapon available. That's it for his moveset, which includes fireballs, tail attacks, and ground pound, which are pretty limited, unlike other monsters, but they're decently damaging, especially if you're facing the tempered version of Azure. Apart from dodging him and attacking with fire pods, etc., you can also use vine traps, paratoads, and flash bugs depending on the area you find yourself in. Usually where Azure likes to go to sleep or where he starts in the beginning, there's usually flash bugs around him as well. They can be on the trees or dangerously close to him. They're not core for the game, you guys. Collect them and craft them into flash pods. Or there's flash, very similar to little bubbles that you can pop with your knife, and they'll basically do the exact same thing. You normally wouldn't fight him outside, but on the outside, more to the left of the map, there's like tons of paratoads in there, so you'll need to be smart and lure him in there. Those can do some serious paralysis damage too. Next, set traps and strategize. Carry as many dung bombs as you have. You'll be needing them against other monsters more than you think you will. You'll also need shock traps, trap tools of your choice, large and small barrel bombs, as well as 5 or more flash bombs in your inventory. But just owning these aren't enough. Many often don't strategize the use of their weapons in the perfect timing, which is honestly such a waste. All it takes is a little bit of patience, and you'll see Azure losing it pretty soon. How? Find the Rathalos and wait for him to charge you. As he recovers, attack him till he stands back up, then walk away. Repeat this until he becomes annoyed, and then allow him to charge at you again. While he runs past, set a trap and allow him to attack you once again. Now this is going to be a lot of back and forth between you and Azure, but trust us guys, all it takes is a little bit of patience, smart strategy, and of course, a whole lot of weapons to get through. Not to forget, courage, because despite being just a video game monster, this guy is quite scary, so you'll need to stand your ground. Attack the tail. If you're feeling confident enough to place another trap, do so, and this time, get his tail, mainly for the extra carve, but also because his turning radius will be reduced to hit you. The moment you notice him stopping his charge and calming down a bit, be prepared to flash bomb him. This is an easy attack, and now in the perfect moment to either remove his tail or break other important parts of his body, and carry antidotes. Antidotes are going to be as important as the weapons you'll be carrying, if not more. So when fighting the Azure Rathalos, make sure to bring antidotes and herbal medicine in your item pouch. Mega and max potions are a lifesaver, as well as any buffs that you might like, such as mega seeds, demon drugs, literally anything that you can find fit for your game. This will keep you safe, because the poison damage over time of this monster is stronger than that of its usual kind. Not only will the hit cause some serious damage to your HP, but what follows, that is, the poison, will gradually eat away your health until he gets you. Azure Rathalos may be a tough nut to crack, and a lot of gamers have had some serious issues with Monster Hunter World because it's super aggressive and an overwhelming monster. And we have to admit, he really does frustrate you, but with a little bit of observation, you'll find that there's a good chunk of opportunities to get him. His head is exposed, his tail is right there, and so is his chest. All you need to do is attack his weak areas and keep your distance. And that's a wrap for this video. If you think we missed something, or there are more tricks that you'd like to share, comment below and let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you in the next one.